once again, welcome to the Rumi Forum. Today we have with us Ambassador Hakan İsmaili. Former telecommunications entrepreneur and CEO Hakan İsmaili was credentialed as the Republic of Kosovo's second ambassador to the United States, very recently, on May 2nd. Immediately after the NATO bombing ended in 1999, Mr. İsmaili co-founded Internet Project Kosovo, or IPKO, a non-profit organization dedicated to promoting the use of information and communications technology as a tool to foster rebuilding and development in Kosovo. IPKO has been credited with bringing the internet to Kosovo. In 2001, it split into two entities, IPKO Net and IPKO Institute. And Mr. İsmaili served as the CEO of IPKO Net, a company that expanded access to broadband, mobile, fixed telephone, and television in Kosovo. Over his 10-year tenure, IPKO became a modern enterprise and is now recognized as one of the fastest growing telecommunications companies in Europe and a fundamental pillar of the new economy in Kosovo. During the same time, Mr. İsmaili co-founded the American University Foundation in Kosovo, which draws support from Kosovar citizens and its diaspora to establish an American-style higher education institution in Kosovo. To date, the foundation has raised more than $8 million, which it has used for numerous programs in conjunction with New York's Rochester Institute of Technology. Mr. İsmaili's work has been featured by the Advocacy Project, Wired, and the New York Times. In December of 2007, the Economic Chamber of Kosovo named him Manager of the Year. Please welcome Ambassador İsmaili to the Rumi Forum.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for very kind words. Rather than this becoming a history lesson, I will just go briefly touch upon the current situation in Kosovo, where we are today, and then I would welcome an opportunity to have a conversation about the topics of interest for you and the audience.
Absolutely.
As you know, Kosovo is a young country. We are the second youngest in the world. Yes. South Sudan recently joined the nation, the family of the nations, as a newly created, newly independent country.
Yeah, very young.
So far, and also young by the age. The Kosovar population is very young by age. Majority of the population is under age of 30, and it's a very vibrant society in which we live today. Since 2008, when we have declared our independence, we have gone through a very important process in defining our statehood. In the meantime, several aspects internally and in our internal development, which is the focus of the work, but also externally in terms of the becoming a member of international bodies. We are very proud of the achievements that we have done in the last 5 years. Especially because of the process under which the independence was declared was known as a process so-called of supervised independence. International allies, international body was created called International Steering Group, which in a document called Ahtisaari Plan laid out a process into which the post-independent Kosovo development kind of achieving points, kind of what needs to be done in the process. That process has been going for quite some time now, since the independence, and we are very proud that we are nearing the end of it. That's a big achievement. We expect that in a conference in Pristina in September, this process will end. The process of supervised independence will end. This is closing a very important chapter in Kosovo's modern history, especially addressing the issues concerning our communities living in Kosovo. The reason that makes us even more proud is only 12 years after the war, we had to overcome the issue, and rather than going through the cycle of the receding cycle in Kosovo. We are trying to put an end on the past and move forward, for the sake of our development, for the sake of becoming the, like a modern state, and end the vicious cycle in Kosovo. During this period, I think we are developing a society which is moving away from the past without forgetting it. Drawing in our past to build a better future for all of our citizens. And in doing that, we have achieved, the biggest, I think, achievement that we are proud of is building our, multi-ethnic society and living in a society like that. I think today in Kosovo, you will find that we have put the standards that not that many countries can be proud of in terms of creating conditions and creating feeling of trust to the central authority, to the institutions, by all members of our society. And as a result, and this is an issue that is raised all the time, we have reserved seat in our parliament for the members of minorities, which can be increased by direct participation in the elections. And minority communities have been part of our parliaments and part of our government ever since '99, ever since, I think 2001 were the first time we had elections. We always had them as part of the parliament and part of our governments, and not just as a add-on, but usually, without them we couldn't create a government at all, which is the current situation right now. So as all these tasks move along, we are now in a process, very important process, of ending the supervised independence. And that for us represents another achievement, another goal achieved in terms of our development. Talking from other aspects, I think ever since 2008, our aspiration was always integrating into Euro-Atlantic organizations, but also creating a good, and then these integrations had to be based on the powerful relationship with all of our neighbors and very tight integrated partnership with the neighbors. I think Kosovo has an excellent relationship with all of our neighbors, but even wider in the region except with Serbia. We have excellent relationship, of course, with Albania. That goes without saying. But also with Macedonia, no open issues with Montenegro, and excellent relationships in Bulgaria, Turkey, Croatia, Slovenia, with whom we have a very close cooperation. Even with Greece, which is very indicative, Greece hasn't recognized Kosovo yet, but we have been continuously having relationship and have continuous contact on all levels, from the individual all the way to top government levels. We have a continuous dialogue with Greece. Greece recognizes our passports. We can travel to Greece, even because the recognition did not happen yet because of internal issues. The door is open for the dialogue in that process. So far, internationally, we have been recognized by 90 countries. I think the latest was from the Republic of Chad in Central Africa, and we are working continuously to get more recognitions. Even though we are in this process, we are in kind of a diplomatic war with our neighbors in the north, with Serbia, which is by all means is putting all of the efforts to actually isolate Kosovo internationally, and we have a counter lobbying in our recognition efforts and in our efforts to become member of international organizations. So far, we are member of the World Bank and we are member on the IMF. We are very soon going to be applying for the EBRD membership, and we're going to continue to reach out to different organizations and become participant in regional and global initiatives. In order not to get ourselves isolated, I think recently, as a process of technical dialogue with Serbia, which was under the auspices of EU, we have reached a couple of agreements, and one particular was very important on regional representation, which would allow Kosovo to participate in regional forums and regional initiatives. We had to take a big political kind of a decision, which was internally very unpopular, But we took that with an idea that we didn't want to become isolated. We wanted to be part of all the initiatives, and we want to break the isolation. So this is what we are striving. These are the challenges. Internally, the challenges remain the reform, remains our path towards NATO and the EU. You know, NATO represents a major partner for us, not just in terms of the military cooperation, but more of what it represents. It represents a stability, it represents a secure future, which creates a better conditions for social, you know, standards, and also about the long-term peace and stability, which is essential for economic development. You know, this is what investors look for. This is what, you know, economy is based upon. And also in our path towards EU, there are our internal reforms are continuing. We have two major points of beginning on our relationship with the EU. The first is we have just recently been presented a roadmap for visa liberalization into the Schengen zone, into European Schengen zone, which is very important because we are the last remaining country in the Western Balkans that hasn't been in that regime. The second is the feasibility study on stabilization and association agreement, which is the initial step before any contractual relationship with the EU begins. And these two represent the first kind of a meeting points between Kosovo and in our path towards the EU. These are the two initial steps in our direction towards the EU. But beyond just the EU, we want to continue our great cooperation and support we have, especially with Turkey, which has been a great supporter on our independence path. You know, from the first days, we have Turkey contributing also in KFOR. We have a big mission of Turkey in Kosovo. They support different initiatives through TICA, through their International Development Agency. And also Turkey is one of the countries that helps us, together with other allies, helps us in our getting more recognitions. They are very active in supporting our foreign ministry in conversation and in talks to gain more recognitions. I think, you know, I touched upon. We can continue on Q&A if I left something out.
Absolutely. First, a few questions I want to ask about the EU, of course, but I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about what the ethnic populations are within. I know you have a large, can I say, ethnic Albanian population.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk about that a little bit and maybe the religious breakdown as well?
You know, the breakdown is what we have before the war. We have just recently had the census, and the results are not final yet. Finally, you know, later this year, we're going to have official data about the breakdown. You know, it's in terms of ethnicity, I think we have somewhere less than 90% Albanians. These were the latest census data. And then the rest, we have a large Serbian community, we have Turkish community, we have you know, the groups under the what we call Roma communities in Kosovo. We have Bosniaks. So we are very multicultural in terms of the different ethnicities in Kosovo, and we kind of want to cherish that. We want to celebrate that in the future. In terms of the official languages in Kosovo, we have constitutionally we have two. It's Serbian and along with Albanian language. But in different municipalities, we have municipalities that do recognize, you know, 3 or even 4 official languages to accommodate, you know, different communities. So, you know, this is because we have a very important process of decentralization, where a lot of the powers from the central government have been put into the municipal level. These decisions, in a lot of the cases, can be made in the municipality level, where, you know, based on the census data, this decision can be passed in the local assembly, and they decide about the official languages of the municipality.
And in terms of religious breakdown, is it?
I think majority is the Albanians are majority in Muslim, but also we have Albanians who are Catholics as well.
Sure.
And also I think the majority of the Serbs are Orthodox. So that's
Right.
pretty much the division lines over there.
Okay. And in terms of 90% ethnic Albanians within Kosovo,
Yep.
have there been talks about some sort of cooperation officially, or some sort of unification process at all, or is it going to stay Kosovo independent and then Albania independent, just given the population and?
Yeah, we have great cooperation with Albania,
Right.
and I think in our path towards EU integration that both countries are striving for, we see a lot of our common interest, within EU addressed very well within the EU framework. Nobody's denying that we are the same nation. We speak the same language, they share the same culture, and there will be a lot of cooperation between Kosovo and Albania in the future. But our paths are towards EU integration, and I think that's where we continue, and that's where we see that moving along.
And so in terms of EU, so given the current situation, the economic crises going on within several of the countries that are part of the EU, has that changed Kosovo's idea of becoming part of this?
This is the question.
Yeah,
this is the question I get.
Yeah.
This is the question I get very often in United States.
Right.
The Kosovo population is very pro-American. If U.S. was closer and they had enlargement policy, we would probably in a referendum we would become part of United States. But United States is very far and doesn't have an enlargement policy as EU does. But Kosovo has been isolated for way too long. We want to be part of Europe, and we want to share, the same, fortune, fate, the same future with other European nations.
So
that's
staying the course,
absolutely
kind of seeing the long term rather than the short term.
And there are also, this whole process, I think, is very useful for us internally. The EU integration has been a great incentive for all of the countries in the region, and it's very important that these incentives stay at arm's reach, because that's where people want to, that's what people buy into. Our politicians are creating political platforms and competing who's more pro-European, and this is actually helping us to make tough and sometimes painful reforms in our path of development to become eligible to become a EU member. And this is a very important process, not just for Kosovo. It's been very important for all the countries in the region. I mean, we have seen since 2000 that the whole region has transformed as a result of striving to become a EU candidate and EU country.
We've seen clearly Turkey and what that has done for Turkey as a
absolutely,
nation state.
Absolutely.
And nation building, the European model is definitely a model.
And we also have another unfortunate situation in Macedonia, which is pointing us at the other direction. What happens to a country when it loses the incentives, when it loses when incentives are not anymore at arm's reach? It's in our own interest. I think it's an interest of the whole region that Macedonia and Greece find a way to resolve the issue, and we continue to see Macedonia further up in their path towards EU integration, because that's important for the whole region. Absolutely.
And in terms of Serbia, what is, I mean, you talked a little bit about that relationship and where it's at right now. So can you speak a little bit more about that, and then what you see or what you would like to see in the future?
Yeah, I want to just differentiate two factors here. Talking about Serbian community in Kosovo, I think we have seen a tremendous progress in terms of our institutions and Kosovo Albanians building relationship with Serbian community in Kosovo. So far in those 5 years since independence, I think we have achieved a lot. We have, as the situation calmed down, we didn't have a major incident for a long time, and we want to see that continue. We have 5 municipalities in Kosovo which are created to accommodate the needs of local community, of Serbian community there. And 5 mayors in these municipal centers are now from Serbian community. They run their own affairs. And what we see in this situation is that in those municipalities we see less and less of Serbian influence, Serbian government influence from Belgrade, which is the opposite of the situation that we see in the north. On top of this, we have 12 members of Serbian community in the parliament, and we have 3 ministers and 1 deputy prime minister in our government. So we see the representation in all the institutions, you know, local all the way to central government. In the north, we have a different situation where we have a direct influence of the Serbian government and direct control of the entire situation. Serbia is using the north as a means to destabilize and always be an inclusive factor in internal Kosovo relations. But we have proven track record, that we have the tools, we have mechanism, we have legislation in place to accommodate the needs of the Serbian community. And that's what we are striving, and there we see the solution for the north as well. You know, something that we have used in the, you know, in the rest of the country, the same can be applied in the north.
I mean, we've heard other countries in the region that have issues with this, you know, nationalism. People are, you know, part of, you know, like Kosovars, but they now feel more of an alliance with Serbia. And so that issue of nationalism, you know, in relation to Serbia, and that it becomes an issue for nation-state building. Yeah,
more than that, I think on a personal level, people want to have a stability, peace, and jobs. Yes. And that's not what's currently being offered to them. Right. And you know, this is our policy. This is what we offer, and this is the path that we want to take. And that's why I wanted to differentiate the relationship with our community in Kosovo and relationships to the Serbian government. To the Serbia, as you know, we are treating them as the neighbors. We had a continuous dialogue. We were always open for dialogue. You know, we had the EU-sponsored dialogue on technical issues, and we have continuously had the high road. We took high road on throughout these negotiations, and we always found a solution to accommodate the needs. But we cannot accommodate the need of the, you know, of the government in Belgrade. We are looking to accommodate the needs of the community that lives in Kosovo. Certainly. That's our priority.
Exactly. All right. Well, I would like to hand it over to our audience now for questions. So again, please, if you do have a question, raise your hand, and I will call on you. Please stand up and speak your name and your affiliation if you'd like. So, questions? Yes?
My name's Todd Wiggins. I'd like to ask you, do you happen to have, well, I don't know if you do, an illustration of the location and also what Bosnia-Herzegovina was and how it affected the history of what Kosovo is, what the relationship is, and how that's evolved?
Okay. You wanted the location of Kosovo is, we are surrounded by Montenegro, Albania, Macedonia, and then on the north with Serbia. We are, you know, south of Macedonia is Greece. I think that's a point of reference that will serve to get a sense where Kosovo is. In relationship with Bosnia, you know, we were part, in old Yugoslav times, we were part of the same country, same state. But even today, we have a good relationship with portion of the population, with 2/3 of the population, if I can say. We have excellent relationship with Bosniaks and Croats that live in the Bosnia and that are representatives in the country. But the recognition hasn't happened yet, and we are not formally recognized because of the Serbian community that lives in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And that remains a point of contention, why the recognition hasn't happened so far. I think in terms of the, you know, we share a lot of a history with Bosnia because of war, and there is a strong sense and belief that, you know, I think the Bosnia opened up to the world what's actually going on in the Balkans, And I think it helped Kosovo to prevent some of the atrocities that could have happened in Kosovo, just because it has happened before in Bosnia.
Yes, Suleiman.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for an excellent overview. My name is Suleiman Vasti, formerly with the World Bank, but currently with the Middle East Institute. They're having an all-day conference today on Turkey. When I was working at the World Bank, and I still do for the UN, I worked on post-conflict countries. Iraq is another story, so I won't go into that. But last week I was in Burundi and then Timor-Leste, and of all the countries, Kosovo has been the fastest in terms of overcoming the obstacles toward the transition. And the main reason is the enormous wealth of human capital, of the diaspora, of the Kosovars. I had great friends when I was studying in Washington. And then also your capacity of building the institutions, be it the trade regime, and we give you full compliments for that. And actually, with the World Bank, we were very unhappy. Why don't we get independent soon? I mean, why do we have to go through UNMIC and all these intermediaries, which are not the most efficient organizations? I would like to know more about the economic challenges you're facing now in terms of governance, transparency, accountability. I mean, that's what is the flavor of the year or month in terms of fighting, corruption and all the kind of things. So if that would be my interest.
Yeah, I think, in a lot of aspects we have seen, tremendous progress if you look from perspective of the starting point. If you would analyze Kosovo with its neighbors, we are not where we want to be. But we always have to look our starting point and the head start that countries in the region had versus Kosovo. And that's the big differentiation, that sometimes when you look at the numbers and look at figures, they are not where we want them to be. But in terms of that, we are talking about a country that has been independent for, since 2008. And I cannot call the period under UNMIC as a period that the economy can flourish, just because of the complex institution like UN has never been good in managing a country, and this was kind of for the first time, they were rulers of a country, a unique situation even for UN organization. So, the transition for Kosovo actually started in 2008. While we have created the basic conditions to start economy in '99, immediately after the war, and we decided that we're going to go and build a free market economy, and build competitive environment for all the businesses. For the first time since 2008, we have a government that actually tries and imposes new policies and looks at this from macroeconomic indicators and looks at long-term development. The unfortunate situation was that this was coinciding with big economic crisis that hit whole world in 2008. Some of the big infrastructure projects which were supposed to jumpstart our economy, like the energy production, for which there was a big enthusiasm by investors and by the investment banks and investment institutions, just had to stop, just because majority of our investment was coming from European countries. EU was our major foreign direct investor. And when the crisis hit, that dried up very quickly. So we are now trying to overcome this situation and look from other sources of foreign direct investment where that can come. Our proximity to EU created closer ties, but now we have to look wider. Turkey has been an important foreign direct investor. It continues to be a very important one for Kosovo. But we are now looking at US as the one that can bring the growth, and where the majority of the growth in our FDI can come from. Right now, conditions are such in Europe that no European bank will invest outside of its border. The only investment that usually can comes from the, they will finance exports of their own country, but nothing beyond that. The big challenge for Kosovo is that we are import economy. We import our cash, and we export our cash very quickly. major play in our economy play the remittances from our very vibrant community we have abroad, but also we export to the dime, as we say. We import $400 million of food every year, and the total imports per year are above 1.2 billion, and that's not sustainable. So we are looking. Our government is creating a new programs where the primary target is import substitution.
What are your natural resources? What is Kosovo known for? Making.
We don't have much.
Okay.
We are a landlocked country that we have a lot of underground resources. We have coal, huge reserves of coal, and we are known for being very rich in minerals. But these mining industry is as a market has shifted, this becomes a very capital-intensive business that requires a huge capital investments that right now we are trying to attract some interest into that. Coal is becoming very interesting, where it can become a energy source. We are looking at clean energy options. There are some projects that we can turn this coal into a gas or synthetic oil. This is what we are looking at in terms of development, and also as an energy center. The demand for energy in the region will just continue to grow, and we are looking at ourselves in a position to actually utilize the coal for production of the energy and play that role there. But also continuing, the biggest resource we have is our population, our young and vibrant population. That we can see as a major asset of the country.
Questions? All right, I have another question.
Sure.
In terms of U.S. relations, and how has the U.S. been involved in terms of the nation-building process and partnership? Can you talk a little bit about that relationship?
Absolutely. United States is our primary partner, primary ally, and the most important country that in our international relations, goes without saying. United States has been very actively involved in Kosovo since the 90s and played a crucial role in all the stages of our development. Even today, the United States remains very active in development of Kosovo. We have a major presence of the United States in KFOR, in NATO peacekeeping mission, and also U.S. through USAID or through direct projects in Kosovo has helped create some crucial institutions in Kosovo, including our tax authority, including majority of the legal framework and legal system in Kosovo. It has been a huge supporter in our development of the legal system. It continues to contribute to EULEX mission in Kosovo and all major developments in Kosovo's development as a society. And that continues. That's an ongoing process that we see them even involved to date with a different mission. But especially now in economic development, they've been players since, they've been involved and playing an important role since '99. Working in the United States, we can never have enough resources to match our counterparts in different departments and different parts of the government. But we get great help from our community that lives in the United States, and this is something that I wanted to touch upon. Albanian community in the United States is very big and very important for us, but it's an interesting fact that the same community we share between Albania, Kosovo, Montenegro, and Macedonia, because Albanians, no matter where they come from, in the United States they are just Albanians, and they don't differentiate themselves geographically. And we as an embassy work very closely with our community. Of course, Albanian embassy works very closely with our community. But I was very heartened to see that even Montenegrin embassy works with our Albanian community here, because there are Albanians who come from Montenegro, and it says they are my diaspora too. So I say, you know, they are everybody's diaspora. We can share the diaspora.
He said the same thing. Yeah.
So it's something that we work together, and this is also a point where the embassies of these countries work together in the United States on common goals and issues.
We recently had a delegation from Bosnia-Herzegovina here, religious leaders actually,
yep.
From the various communities, and they discussed how they had very, close after the war, had formed an alliance, an organization, and they deal with education, women's issues, law, legal issues, businesses, building, human rights issues. Do you have any such organization in Kosovo, or thoughts of that?
No, there is an initiative. Actually, there is recently we had a visit by an organization that is headed by Tony Blair, former Prime Minister of UK. And it's, it deals specifically with intra-religious discussion and dialogue. And there is a conversation about that, but that was never an issue in Kosovo. I'll give you a couple of examples for this. The tolerance and the communication is growing by day. We have, in the center of Pristina, we have a cathedral being built. It's normal. People view it as a normal development. But also, I was heartened about another development recently. We had monks from a monastery in Dechani all lining up and getting Kosovo IDs, which was a sign that all our efforts are actually being met, and we see this growing trust in the institutions. And this was also a sign for others in the community to actually join this. So there are regular contacts between the religious leaders in Kosovo, but we try to keep politics and religion strongly separated as two separate institutions, and continue independently of each other. We can develop together as a society.
Absolutely. Right. Do we have any further questions from our audience? No?
I will just add another
please,
fact,
please.
which it will be bad to be missed. Talking about women's position in Kosovo, that has been something also that it started since '99. We wanted to empower and find ways to empower women in Kosovo. And an experience that I wanted to share is about the quota system that started being introduced after the first elections, before the first elections in Kosovo. We have put a quota system in our parliament that every third member on the lists of political parties had to be a woman. And that quota system has kind of started transforming our society. It started a kind of imposing model, but now we see more and more women involved in politics, and it led to creating an environment that now we have a woman president. I think our president is, from what I've researched on Wikipedia and on internet sources, the youngest woman elected president in the world, and we are seeing now her viewed as a role models for a lot of other women to get involved in the politics and get involved in the institutions. I'm just pointing this as a proponent of the quota system, that in a lot of the places this viewed as a bad and negative, but actually in our case it has worked well and is helping transform our society.
Sure, and maybe possibly one day it can be phased out, but until then, it is necessary in terms of
as a transitional point. We see a lot of benefits in that introduction of that system.
Congratulations on completing in August the transition, working towards.
Yep, there is a meeting. Yeah, we are talking about the end of supervised independence. That there is a meeting scheduled for next month, the beginning of next month, and the formal process will end with a ceremony in Pristina, with a big conference in Pristina in September.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you very much, Ambassador Ismaili, for joining us. Please join me in thanking the Ambassador.